Hi guys, what is up? Welcome or welcome back. If you're new here, hi, my name is Rutvik, and if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. Today we are doing a recommendation video. I've not done one of these in literally forever. I did one, I think so, in January, which was like January in Japanese translation recommendations, but here we are doing it once again. Since the weather is cooling down, since we are in the BER months of the year, I want to come here and give you guys a few cozy, heartwarming, life-affirming, chill book recommendations. And I have quite the lot. As much as I love reading dark and twisted and weird and unsettling books, cozy fiction, life-affirming fiction is one of my most comfort genres because I just don't have to think too much. I just can turn my brain off and just be happy, feel happy when I read these books. There will be tears involved, there will be a little bit of mystery, a little bit of suspense, but ultimately I just know for a fact that I will have a good time, and that's why cozy fiction, life-affirming fiction, heartwarming books always will have like a big place in my heart. Let's get started with the recommendations. I have recommendations from mystery to cozy fantasy to just regular general fiction with stories which are life-affirming, heartwarming, and just a joy to read. If you follow me, you already know what the first recommendation is going to be, so I'm just going to talk about it and get it out of the way. It's not a single book, it's an entire series, which is the Thursday Murder Club series by Richard Osman. I 2 days ago just finished my 5th reread of this series this year. Like, I've read these 4 books 5 times this year, 20 times in total. That is how obsessed with this series I am. I read it for the first time in, I think so, April, and ever since then I am obsessed. If you're a regular, you already know how much I love it. You already have heard me talk about this book series way too much, but if you're new here, let me talk about it. This series follows 4 people who live in a retirement village. All of them are over 70 years of age, and they come together and they form like a murder club. So where every single Thursday, hence the name Thursday Murder Club, they come together and they start solving cold cases. They try to find the killers and they try to solve the cases which the police could not. One day, what happens in the first book, someone gets murdered in the village, so they don't have a cold case to solve anymore. They have a fresh live case, and then the plot just goes ahead from there. Don't get me wrong, there is really good mystery in each and every book because you will be confused and you will be clueless as to who is doing what. The suspense is really good, the plot twist is really good, but what makes this series so special, at least for me, is the characters. Each and every character, the 4 main characters, the 10s and 15s of side characters are just so fleshed out, so real, so likable, even when they are not perfect. Richard Osman writes in such a way, like, I think so it just comes naturally for him. And I read these books as audiobooks. Like, I've not read through the physical copies ever. There's like interviews after the book is done for each and every one, and throughout those interviews of all of the books, he mentions quite often that he does not really plot the book beforehand, since it's a mystery book. He just writes and he goes from there. I think so this sort of writing is called discovery writing, where you just write and you see where the plot takes you. And to write this in that way, just the sheer talent that you need to have to do that is just incomprehensible for me. I absolutely love reading these books. I've read them 5 times now, need I say more? But every single time I pick out other details which I may have missed on the previous reads, and they never once get bored. Never once get bored. They are so funny, they are so heartwarming, they are so emotional, they are so mysterious. You'll be hooked by the mystery, you'll be taken away by the characters, and then you'll keep wanting to come back for more again and again. This is required reading to be a subscriber, you know. This is like, if you are subscribers of this channel, this is required reading for you. This is homework for you. So yeah, definitely check this out if you haven't already. And I'm also going to quickly recommend his newest release, which is We Solve Murders, and this is also along the same lines as the Thursday Murder Club, where we have like a main group of investigators, but in the Thursday Murder Club, all of them are in this retirement village, but over here there's like a little bit of an age gap sort of situation where we have a father-in-law and a daughter-in-law duo. The father-in-law is a retired cop, the daughter-in-law is a private like bodyguard security person, and then there is also a very famous, like the best-selling female author of this world, and these three team up together to find out the like who's the killer and stuff. So I read this twice as well. Like I read it the day it was released, and then once I got done with it a day later, I restarted reading it once again. That is how amazing and that is how obsessed with Richard Osman I am. So definitely check this one out as well. My next recommendation is the Mardal Murder Club series. I don't have physical copies of it right now. I listen to them as an audiobook. Great audiobook listening experience. Basically, it's like a similar thing as to the Thursday Murder Club, where we have our main character who is a crossword setter. She makes crossword for the paper. One day she wakes up to find a man dead in her yard, and the police are brushing it off and they're not investigating it very well. So she teams up with like unlikely people from the town of Mardal, and they form this murder club and they investigate this death, and then the story continues in the next book. There are like 3 books out right now, and the 4th one is supposed to be out very soon as well. The characters and the surrounding characters are just so real, so fleshed out, and the book is very funny. The mystery is good. All around I had like a really good time listening to it. And then after that we have is Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jesse Sutanto. Literally, like if you were to like search up an image of the ideal cozy mystery book, this would be one of those images, because it's so cozy, it's so heartwarming, it's so funny, the mystery is good, the suspense, the plot twist, everything is really well done. This is about Vera Wong, who runs a tea shop, and one day she wakes up to find a man dead in her tea shop. The window is broken and he seems to have been murdered, but the police is treating it as an accident or something, like maybe he just had a heart attack and he stumbled into the shop. They're very like quick to just shut the case because they don't want to deal with it. But Vera, being the Chinese old woman that she is nosy. She gets into business which is not hers. She decides to start investigating this mystery by herself, and then she comes across the suspects in this investigation, and they lead her to something else and she leads them to something else. It is so heartwarming, it is so funny. This is like, Vera is like the most perfect person you need to have in your life. She's like a very fun grandma sort of vibe, and I had so much fun time reading this book. I'm very excited for the sequel, which is coming next year in April, I think so. And those are all of the cozy mysteries I have. I have a few more cozy mysteries, but I don't really want to recommend them right now. I'm just like taking out the best picks I have. Then let's move on to the cozy fantasy genre. The cozy fantasy genre for me is spearheaded with books like Legends and Lattes and Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. This is the first book and this is the prequel. So this is the second book, but also the book which occurs before this. So you know what, actually, but you need to read this first and then this book, because you'll get spoiled otherwise. So this is Legends and Lattes, is about Viv, who is an orc. If you guys don't know what orc is basically a monster. So she's an assassin, so she goes and kills people, be that they can be good guys or bad guys. She does not care, but she is done with living the orc assassin life, wants to stop killing, and she does. And she leaves the company and she sets up a coffee shop in a town where nobody knows what coffee is. And then we just follow the journey of setting up this coffee shop, the journey of taking it off the ground, making sure that customers come in. She makes a little bit of a profit. And what makes this book so special is that it is so atmospheric. It is so, like, if you love coffee, you will have so much fun reading this book, because it is so, like, you can smell the coffee while you're reading this, and the characters are just amazing. The side characters who come in, there's like a little subplot of romance. It is so well done. I had so much fun reading it. And then is the prequel, which in my opinion is even better than the first one. If you are in a reading slump and you love reading fantasy, this should be the book you pick up, because this book will make you fall in love with reading once again. It will remind you why you love reading, because this book is basically Viv finding books and experiencing them. As the title suggests, it's set at a bookshop in a town where Viv is on like a little bit of a medical break because of an injury before she starts the coffee shop, like years before that. And over there she finds this like derelict bookshop which is on the verge of collapsing, and she helps like revive it once again with the owner. And then there's like this plot of necromancer coming into town to target Viv and stuff. It is so like the stakes are low. Like that is literally the tagline of the book: high fantasy, low stakes. And this is also high fantasy, low stakes, and second-hand books. It is so beautiful. You will absolutely fall in love with reading once again. I also read this book when I was in a reading slump, and it just like took me out of it in the most effortless way possible. I did not have to struggle at all, and definitely check this one out. Also, the cover is so pretty. Like these covers, literally so pretty, so aesthetic, so cozy, and so inviting. The power is off, the power is out, and it is October, so it means it's going to be very hot for this month before the winter sets in. And I'm like sweating already. I can't deal with it. The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I love this book. I had so much fun when I read this book. It is so funny. It is so heartwarming. This is like one of the best found family happy books ever. It is about Linus Baker, who works at this Department of Magical Youth sort of situation where he just goes around the magic kids orphanages around the country and then performs inspections on them and see whether they are being run well, and if they should shut it down or they should keep it going, sort of thing. And then one day he is summoned by the very like top people of the department, where he needs to survey this orphanage which has some of the most dangerous kids, like some of the most dangerous magical kids to ever exist. And he goes there with like a clear intention of shutting it down because he's being programmed to do that. But over there he goes and he falls in love with the kids. He falls in love with the caretaker who takes care of those kids, and he just falls in love with life. His life is completely changed. It's so funny. It is so heartwarming. The characters are so memorable, and this book will stay with you for a really long time. And I am so excited because the sequel to this book, called Somewhere Beyond the Sea, just released like last week, and I'm very excited to read it ASAP. So definitely check this one out. Wait a minute, I just got an email. Let me see who is it from. Up next I have two books which are so incredibly short, like literally so short, but they are just so heartwarming. They will stick a smile on your face because that is how cute they are. The Monk and Robot series by Becky Chambers. The first one is A Psalm for the Wild Built, and the second one is A Prayer for the Crown Shy. We follow a monk who is just like kind of questioning their identity and questioning their purpose in life. So, and they go on like this journey of the entire land of Pangaea. And what has happened over there is that the humans and the robots have taken like a little bit of a fight, and the robots decided to leave humanity and just go and live off in a jungle. And as the monk goes around the country, becomes a tea shop owner, they give people specific teas based on what they need. And one day they come across this robot, and the robot decides to just join the monk on the journey, and then they just have conversations with each other about life. And the monk is coming from a very human perspective, a very rooted in life perspective, whereas the robot can see outside of that perspective and give like a rational opinion and a rational answer to it. And this book just has so much warmth in it. They have so much conversations about just the meaning of life, what it means to be happy and stuff. And if you're like feeling in like a little bit of a funk life wise, these books are just a perfect reminder as to why life is so beautiful. Like even if it looks bad, life is so beautiful regardless of everything that is going on. And then we have is a book which is not really like a cozy book. Like it's not like a happy sort of book, but it's just so atmospheric. It is so like surrounded with like books and magic, and the fantasy aspect of it is so cozy, so atmospheric. You can easily get lost in it. When I first read it, I did not really have like the best impression of it. Like I gave it around like a 3.75 stars maybe, because I was just not in the mood to read it. But now that I think of it, like in hindsight, I'm loving it a lot, and I wish I had waited even more to read it and have like a really good experience, which is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This is about Zachary, who stumbles across this book which has his life written up until that point till he meets the book. And based on like the clues in the book, he goes to like this place where he's sucked into this magical world of books and protectors and bees and this underground labyrinthine library where people are trying to get to it and steal books from it and stuff. The plot is a bit complicated to just keep up with, but the vibes in this are perfect. It's like I think of it with such fondness now that I'm like almost 2 years since reading this, and I wish I had given it I wish I had done it a lot more justice. So definitely check this out. I have not read The Night Circus yet, but now that I spoke about The Starless Sea, like my interest to read The Night Circus has peaked a lot more. So I'm definitely going to make it a priority to read it very soon. After that, let's move on to like contemporary fiction stories not into like a particular genre. First up we have is A Little Elephant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. This is quite possibly my favorite book of all time. Quite possibly, like I doubt like it is spot number 1 because I have like the series to complete now, but I need to read it once and then I'll like give you like my final verdict after that. But this is so good. I absolutely love this book. It's about Eleanor Oliphant who lives a simple life. She goes to work on time, she eats the same thing for lunch, she gets her 2 bottles of vodka to drink every weekend. But on the surface everything looks nice, on the surface everything looks right, but deep down Eleanor Oliphant is not completely fine. And this is a story of Eleanor just coming out of a shell. I say this oftentimes, that this subgenre of stories where a middle-aged woman goes through something traumatic in her life in the beginning and she kind of like shuts herself off from the world, but then something happens accidentally or intentionally. She meets someone, not necessarily a love interest, but just like a random person, a random stranger, or like a co-worker or something, and then she just starts opening herself to life, and life like takes her by surprise. Those are some of my favorite stories to read ever, and this is just the perfect example of that. If you love watching English for English, the Sridevi movie, you will absolutely love this book because it's so good. It's so funny, there's like dry humor in it, but it's so emotional, it's so tender. It's like a really delicately handled exploration of loneliness, of solitude, and what it means to have someone who will understand you. And oh my god, now that I'm talking about it, I need to read it so soon. Like I'm probably going to start reading it very soon, like this weekend. Yes. Up next we have another story which is similar to Eleanor Oliphant, which is The Collected Regrets of Clover. This is about Clover, who works as a death doula in New York City. So basically when someone is dying, someone is in their last few days, and they just need someone to like cleanse their energy and just like let them help them let go of things that are holding them down. She goes and she comforts them, she talks to them, or just sometimes just sits them and just helps to be there for someone during the last moments. And one day she gets called on an assignment which will change her life, because the woman that she goes to help, she is not ready to die. She has so much life inside of her, and she makes a pact with Clover and tells her to fulfill this one last wish that she has. And that adventure that they both go on just completely changes her life. It is a classic story which is very similar in plot style to Eleanor Oliphant, but when it comes to these stories, like you cannot get enough of them. Even though they might have like a predictable structure to them, the warmth in this story is so much more. And the title, The Collected Regrets of Clover, makes so much sense once you read the book. Absolutely loved it. Why a rom-com sort of book? It's not really a romance book, but it's more about like our main character just finding her footing in life after she gets to college. It's called Begin Again by Emma Lord. It's about Andy who decides to go to the college that her mother used to go to. Her mother has passed away and she still feels a loss in her life. And over here in the back it says, and when her dreams of following in her much missed mother's footsteps seem to falter at the first hurdle, Andy learns that the best laid plans are not necessarily the right ones, so she must begin again. It's so heartwarming, it is so cute. The romance, there is a little bit of romance, but it's not the forefront of the plot. There's not even any sort of spice in it, apart from like a few kisses here and there in the end. But it's just a story of her finding herself, finding friends, and just like once again similar things like letting life in sort of thing. Then we have is a Japanese book, which is What You're Looking For Is in the Library by Michiko Aoyama. This is a story about a library wherein people by happenstance come in looking for like something different, like looking for a particular book, but when they ask the librarian where to find that book, she gives them that book and also gives them a book which the librarian feels that they need. And when they read it, you get to know about their life, and the book that the librarian gives them helps to just transform them and just change their life and change the feeling of hopelessness that all of them are feeling. It's so warm, it's so cozy, and it's about books, so definitely the cozy vibes are just like taken up a notch. Then we have a book which I've talked about like before on this channel many times, which is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This is set in a magical cafe in Tokyo, wherein on one particular seat you can go back in time and meet someone who has been to the cafe before, but no matter how much you try, you cannot change the present. So basically what this book is just stories of people going back in past just to find some sort of closure, just to find some sort of release and like some sort of reassurance. There's a lot of grief involved, but ultimately like the story is about hope, about letting go, about finding that closure and moving on and letting life win once again. The series can get a bit repetitive. There are 5 books out right now. The 5th book literally just came out like a few days ago. I read it literally the day it came out. Where is it? Yeah, before we forget kindness. This is the 5th book. I love this a lot, but just know that even if you get the entire series, don't read it back to back because it will get so repetitive so fast. So use this as like a palate cleanser, like in between heavy books. Then we have The Lantern of Lost Memories by Sanaka Hiraki. This is about a photography studio which is located in between life and death, and once you die, you stop in this photography studio as like a rest stop in between your journey into the afterlife, and over there you get the chance to look back at your life through this lantern of memories. You know, like when people say your life flashes before your eye, that is the lantern of memories. Like it's like the similar concept. And over there, as they prepare this lantern, the photography studio owner takes the people back and get a new photo of this one particular memory which is very precious to them. So it's very emotional in that sense. The stories interconnect with each other towards the end, and it's very heartwarming. I had so much fun reading this, and I like it's very like on the same level of Before the Coffee Gets Cold. Then we have quite possibly one of my favorite books of all time, which is The Traveling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arikawa. This is the cover. It is about a cat, Nana, who finds Satoru, his owner. Like the Satoru takes Nana in from the street, but due to some reasons, after a few years, he is not able to keep Nana anymore because of health reasons. You can guess what they are. Very easy to do that. But to make sure that Nana has a good house, Satoru takes Nana and visits the entire country, all of the people he knows and who he can trust to take in Nana and take care of Nana in the way that he used to do. And while they are on this road trip, you get an insight into Satoru's life, into his past, and how you also get to see the bond that Nana and Satoru have. And towards the end, it gets so emotional, so bittersweet. I literally face planted on the bed and cried so much that my pillow was wet because it's so sad, but it will leave you so happy. It is so pure. It's about the love between an animal and its and it's human. You can't even say it's owner, because the relationship has gone beyond that at that point. It is so heartwarming, so comforting. And if you have pets, if you have cat, if you have a dog, if you have an iguana, if you have a snake, whatever, you need to read this, because it will just like tug at your heart and just like make you happy while leaving you with tears. So good. Then we have Days at the Morisaki Bookshop by Satoshi Yagisa, a main character who goes through a terrible heartbreak, and to escape all of the sorrow, she decides to just move into the attic room over her uncle's bookshop. She's not a reader, but over there as she helps around the shop, because she's getting to live there for free, gets to reading, and she starts to heal from this relationship. You also get to see how her and her uncle's relationship progresses, and there's like a tale of family, of love, and it's very cozy. The plot is very lackluster, honestly, but it's not about the plot, it's about the vibe. The sequel to this came out this year in around July. I read it on the plane back from Singapore, and I cried on the flight because it's a lot more emotional. And the last book I have for this list is a new addition to my reading list, which is The Door-to-Door Bookstore by Carsten Henn. This is about Carl. He's 72 years old and he sells books all around the town. He goes door to door and sells the books that his customers have ordered. One day on his daily round of customers, a little girl, Shasha, 9-year-old, she decides to join him because she sees him every day passing through, and she's very interested in what he's doing with all of these books. He unwillingly lets her come along, but slowly and surely they develop like a very close bond. And when Carl's life and his job is in danger, Shasha and the entire community that he has built with the books that he sells comes together to change his life forever. This is written with such a love and such a passion and such respect to books, book lovers, and bookshops in general. And there are so many good lines about books and the magic that they have in our life. So I had so much fun reading this book. It's also very short, it moves very quickly. I can guarantee you'll be done with this in like 4 to 5 hours, maximum 6 hours, even if you read very slowly. And with that, I have decided to stop this recommendation list. I could literally go and pull like 10-20 more books from my bookshelves, but then this video will be way too long and I'm not in the mood to talk for that long right now. I'll make a part 2 in the future when I inevitably have more cozy books under my radar. So make sure you come back, like make sure you stick around until then. Could be 5 months, could be 6 months, could be 7 months, could be a year, or literally could be next month. I cannot guarantee anything. Let me know if you read any of them and how you enjoy them. I will see you guys very soon. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. Bye.